Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where I'm going to be doing a reaction review to New Age by FAKY. Now, just in case you didn't know, since the channel's restarted, I'm going to give you the review now. If you want to see the reaction that I just did, click the link in the description below. It'll open up a separate YouTube player where you can watch that. Sorry, we have to do it as two videos now, just the way it is. So anyway, if you want to see the reaction, go watch the reaction now. It's an interesting one. Pause me. Are you ready for the review? Because otherwise I'm about to give you the review. Here comes the review. Okay, I hope you did see the reaction anyway first, because that will prepare you for where this is going to go. This has a lot of views. I'm going to start by saying that. It has a lot of views, and so a lot of people like it, and therefore I am going to say that is the most important thing. If you enjoy this song, great for you. I did try my best to look through and really see it from the most fair, objective standpoint, you know, sort of subjectively see how other people could see it. And so, you know, I'm going to look at it in that way. And I'm going to try and comment on those things whilst leaving my comments. But I've got to be honest, overall, and again, I also want to say no disrespect to the musicians, to the people who, not so much to the people who wrote and produced it, but certainly not to the girls who were in the video. You know, I'm sure, you know, they're living the dream. Fine for them. That's all great. But the one sentence that kept on coming into my head when I was listening to that, and they were talking about the new age, was, this is everything that's wrong with pop music. The problem is, and like I say, I don't mean this isn't anything wrong with people or people's tastes or, you know, I know people who I respect who probably would really like this. In fact, I think the person who recommended this, I'm pretty sure I know them. I'm pretty sure I remember who recommended this off of our community. Someone with good taste. For me, this had so many problems with it, it was hard to shake a stick at. The first one overall was the fact that I didn't get, because there's a few things, I'm going to sort of break them down one at a time. I didn't get any individual vibe from the singers. And this can be a lot down to the way the songs are written, the way they're produced. I didn't get the feeling of each singer having their own personality in the lyrics. Yes, in the way they dressed, present themselves, dance, fine. But in the way that the song was being sung, not so much. You know, their sort of whole vocal delivery, whether they were doing rapping or singing, wasn't that distinct from each other. Fair enough. And the producer didn't really do anything to make it sound like there was four of them. I mean, we've often talked about groups on this channel like, I mean, the example I often use, because they're the prime example, very different group admittedly, but you look at groups like Bish, each singer has been picked, I think, for having quite a different voice, and when they perform, you really hear the difference between what they do. And, you know, when they all sing together, it sounds like them all singing together. It sounds like a group singing together. Here, you never got the vibe of any of that. You never got the vibe of the individual singers' voices, never got the vibe of them all singing as a group at any point. You know, even when they were singing together, it just kind of sounded like their voices are being compressed together. And I just didn't get that vibe of them being like a lively group of several, I think it's four or more women in a group. It just never got that vibe. Now, I wanted to cover that first of all, because some of the other issues I've got to dive in are probably more obvious and probably more related to the actual style itself. And this is something where I would have, if you'd asked me this maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said, this is unfortunately the way pop is going. But actually, this in a lot of ways, it sounds a little bit dated, because pop has, well, you know, Western pop has kind of started to veer away from this sort of thing. Not necessarily always for the better, but the way that this is written is, it's a style of writing that was so heavily lampooned and criticized, and there were so many memes about this on social media and videos ridiculing this style of writing, that you can't really get away with doing this type of music in the West anymore. There was that very, very famous one. Do Google it or YouTube it and find it. I can't remember who did it, but it was someone had memed a thing about, you know, you wait for, you know, big build-ups and then disappointing beat drops. And it was like that. You know, you get this build-up. And to be honest, the build-up was not spectacular in this. It starts off fairly generic, goes through a fairly generic pre-chorus, and feels like, okay, it's building up a little bit. So you're expecting, okay, it's going to be like, maybe the chorus or the hook's going to be really impactful. Maybe we're just sort of keeping things low-key to build up to something which is really going to just blast you away and just make the whole floor move. And instead what we got was not only a stripped back hook, but a hook that consisted of next to nothing. I mean, I can't imagine a more dull way to deliver a hook than that. It was nothing there. It would have been excusable if they did what a lot of K-pop groups do, which is just replace it with some ear-splittingly low bass tones. So at least you know they're kind of going, okay, everything's dropped out, but now it's just like going to be like an earthquake in here. Fine, I could have gone with that, but it wasn't particularly bassy, didn't have much impact, didn't have any music. It just became this mid-tempo, just might as well just someone walked out and just started beatboxing. In fact, that was more interesting. What I just did there was more interesting. I want to say in a nice way, but it was just really a nothing hook. I don't think you could dance to it because it didn't have enough impact to really be danceable. They were dancing to it somehow, but it seemed like someone had turned down their radio. The hook was non-existent, and they went around and did it 3 times identically each time, which just inexcusable in my opinion. And like I say, this is something that K-pop is now starting to do, this kind of chorus more. But even, as we cover Japanese music, and I defend a lot of Japanese pop on this channel, that even against a lot of our rock fans on here who are maybe against a lot of the pop stuff, just from taste, I'm often defending pop because I'm like all styles of music. But, I grew up with a lot of pop. I like it. But, like I say, often pop's defensible because it goes in a slightly different direction. This just doesn't go in any direction. It's just, we couldn't be bothered to write anything. So, it's not good in that sense. And like I say, although K-pop does do similar things to this, you tend to find that when they have their breaks, their simplistic, overly minimalistic breakdown, instrumental, looped hook things, at least they have a bit of impact. At least they really sort of smack of a lot of bass or something like that. This kind of doesn't. Like I say, this actually got to the point where I listened to another group recently. I don't know if I'm going to be uploading that video before or after this one, where it was a similar thing. It was very minimalistic, and I was saying similar things about that. But the one thing that you couldn't deny, it had a lot of impact, and you couldn't help but move along to it. Even if it was kind of, not really that engaging, you couldn't help but move along to it. This one, literally, like I say, I was bored. I was bored and counting down the seconds, just waiting for it to end. I was by the time we got to a second hook, I was kind of bored, just waiting for it to go. And I was like, okay, maybe there'll be an interesting bridge. Maybe there'll be an interesting crescendo. Maybe they're just sandbagging up to something. And they weren't. There isn't a huge amount I can say about this without continuing to criticize. I mean, the only positives that I can really find in this is that they did, I don't know much about choreography, but it seems that they're very competent dancers. They are good vocalists. There's nothing wrong with their vocal performance. It's just that, like I say, they haven't been picked for being very unique from each other. And the producer certainly wasn't helping in that department. But the production was lazy. The writing was non-existent. And even the video was kind of like, it looked like a cheap rip-off of what a lot of other groups have done previously. It's like, we've all seen that thing where you stand in a tunnel or maybe you just get some random things, but it's like, just some random things for the girls to sit on. But it's like, we got like this little space between 2 bits of corrugated metal. Here's a tunnel with some car from 20 years ago in it. It's not old enough to be classic, not new enough to be interesting. It's like, just everything about it just felt, no, just look, I'm rambling about this too much. I don't think I can really find anything positive to say. I'm sorry. There you go. It's always disappointing when we get to one of these, but I'm going to have to say, as always, this whole channel is about conversation. So you might all disagree with me. I mean, this video has a lot more views than I'm ever going to get. So clearly a lot of people like this, and more power to them. Enjoy what you enjoy. Music is subjective. However, this channel is about conversation. So I want you to get in there. If you like this, tell me why I'm wrong. Don't be shy. I want to hear people object to what I say so that we can have proper conversation, so that everyone can share their piece in the comments. And so I really look forward to that, either way what your opinion is. And I do hope we get a mix of opinions, because if everyone dislikes it, then I'm going to think that maybe there's something wrong with our channel following, because clearly a lot of people do like this. So we need to have a good mix of responses, I think. And also, if you like the conversation, if you like getting involved in talking about Japanese music, remember our Discord and our Reddit are also linked in the description below. And that's a great place to follow the conversation. We're talking about Japanese music all the time on there and talking about new artists and lots of different styles enjoyed by our many followers on there. As well as my Facebook and Twitter are also linked in the description below. I've got to get them a little bit more active again in the next few days. And last but not least is the Patreon. The people who actually managed to keep this little exercise running. So anyway, look, as always, that's my opinions. Feel free to object. Feel free to disagree or agree. I'm looking forward to the discussion anyway. And thank you either way for making it through to the end of this video. So until I see you hopefully very soon on the next one, for now, ciao, ciao.